Hello everyone and welcome to another Woodworking Wisdom. So today what we're going to do a trivet. Something you can put all those hot pans and dishes and everything else you're going to have in the next week, because obviously in a week's time, Christmas Day. So if you're watching this later in the year, just ignore that comment, don't worry, you can use it at other points, it'll be fine. Hoping it's warmer where you are than it is in here, a bit cold in here, okay, so hopefully we'll be all right today. Most of you probably not out in your workshop, but this is good entertainment, I hope. So Trivet, we're going to do a couple of little things. We're going to show you some of the techniques we've used in this. Could be interesting. You could adapt for other things. Some of you are going to be, oh, that's quite nice. I could, So, Trivet. Now, on the router table, I've got a trivet we made a while back. So we got this. All right, let's have a quick look. Can we go to 3, I think? There you go. So we did our trivet we made a while back. Oh, halving joints. Could have been simple. We could have done one of those. But I kind of wanted to do something different, so let's get rid of that. Going to lose it. All right, so thought we'd make something a bit more interesting. How about this? Sorry, Ben, I'm giving you the runabout. Look. All right, so Ben's trying to keep up with me on the camera. So we got this trivet thing here. The one I've just shown you, the green one, tulip, it's quite large, and it takes up a lot of space. Doesn't fit in a kitchen drawer easily. So this one's quite nice. It's got a nice shape. What can we do with this? We can move it about. We can open this out. So this is all in reality like a hinge. Oh, get it there. Get that last one. Right, so that gives you quite a nice surface. That looks quite funky. That looks better than the one we just put on the saw table there. So different shape. And like I say, with it folding up, it's smaller. Something a bit different. And I will say I racked my brains for a couple of days looking at different things. What can we make as a trivet? All right, we've got that question the other week. Where do we get ideas from? Oh, wow. We kind of sit down and brainstorm, and I came up with 3 or 4 different things I could possibly make. Like this. Going to use a number of things. So we're going to use router table and bandsaw in reality. Okay, some of the stuff I've already set up. So that's our simple trivet. All right, so I'm going to put that just out of the way for a second. Okay. So router table I've already set up for a minute. All right, so on the cutter we have what I would class as a bull-nosed or round end cutter. If I move my hand down, let's just move that. I think you can see you've got that ball-ended bit. Let's see if I can cut. I've got to find the cutter back into there. That's better. Okay. Trying to look at the screen and that. You can see the round shape, bit dark there, but you can see it's got a domed end. We're using one that is 1/4 inch diameter. So I can also use some 6mm dowel. I've set the cutter up to half the depth. So again, if I get my dowel and we get the bits of wood I cut this as one length, cut it in half. This is a test bit just to see if that will fit in there. I need a little bit of movement, but I don't want it moving up and down. So in actual fact, that mirrors that profile pretty much totally. All right. So I think you see there, I'm going to turn around a bit so I can see where I am on the camera. So just try to cut. It just fits in. It's tight enough. We'll be able to glue it, but it's got to actually fit in there without any wobble back and forwards on here. All right. So they were just a simple test bit. So I brought the height up in reality to 3mm above the table. We could actually have gone with, but I know it's going to try a height gauge, but over the top, bring it up to 3mm, then do a test cut. Fence wise, I've locked off. We are 12mm from the fence to the middle of the cutter. All right. So to make our trivet, what we're going to start with, some 1/2 inch plywood. So this is birch ply, 12mm. This is actually something I had at home. I had a shelving unit I took apart and never got rid of the plywood. I hate throwing things away. So this is why it's got these funny cutouts on here. This was a shelf unit. So I've cut it up, going to recycle it. Okay. So quite nice to do. So it doesn't have to be anything very big. This is 14 inches long. If someone's going to ask me, you need a minimum of 7.5 inch wide. Okay. As a rough guide, 14 inches long for those over here is 360, 7.5 is 180. Ben's got a question already. We haven't done that much yet, Ben. Come on. What have we got?
So we've got a question here from Fuller. He's asking what the second narrow slot's for on the router table.
What's the what? Sorry?
The second slot. So not the T slot, the 19mm one, the second little slot.
Okay,
yeah,
so these two, we get different ones we can put in here, different things. We've got obviously a T slot. We've got a smaller type of T slot as well on the front edge. So it's different things we can actually put into this. At the moment on the fence, you can't quite see it. I've got a featherboard I'm going to bring in. I've also got a horizontal one. It's up on the wall right at the top up here. Look, up in there. That'll go down here. So we can put different things into those T-slots. We can lock them down, really useful. We could have a slide fence. I actually have one of my favourite things is the sledge for doing interlock doors. We've done as a video. So that's quite a nice one, right? So those grooves are really useful. Cast iron tabletop makes it a lot heavier. All right, so the cast iron top adds a lot more weight to it, dampens any vibration down. Obviously, the other nice thing, if you tighten anything up, you know, you're not flaring the fibres if it's MDF. All right, so all good things. If you were making your own router table, to answer the questions I can see coming up now, you can buy metal T-track to put in. If you're going to position that and you were pretty sure that you've got everything right where it is, I put a bit of glue in there just to hold it. A bit of polyurethane. When you tighten those screws down, then you know it's never going to move or lift. Okay, all right, Ben. Right, okay, I obviously answered your other question when you had it. Okay, so we've got our bit supply. We've got our inside face that's going to go downwards. All right, I've sanded these up a little bit. I'm going to bring the featherboard down in. Just going to put a little bit of pressure. Don't want loads, roughly middle to there, okay? So as we've said, the cutter is set to, in reality, 3 mil. And I want to see if we can move this through. All right, so I'm just testing how much tension I've got on my featherboard. I'm coming front of the cutter as well. I look like I'm struggling there. I want to come round it just to see what's happening. Okay, that looks good. So we set that up. Next thing, just going to get my earmuffs, put those on. We're going to put the extractor on, router on. Not too quick. Allow it to toss it. Gently feed through the featherboard, keeping the pressure on the cutter, also acting as a guard. That's quite clean. Could do the other one as well. Gently along. Ooh. Gonna be one of those afternoons. I ever caught the stop button or something else happened. Let's have a look then. Interesting. Which I don't think I caught the stop. Let's see what happens again then. Okay, now get our boards. Let's have a quick look on here. We've got our groove. Let's just shut them down a bit so I can talk a bit better. Not too bad actually on there. I thought it was going to be more fluffy with it being plywood and cross section. My dowel will fit in. I can get the two together. We're going to check where they are. Put it that way, which I've done something with this dowel. I'll explain what we want later, just to check that when they glue up, everything's coming together nicely. Just going to take my earmuffs off a second. That's done. Let's have a quick look. Checking if they're really fluffy. If they're really fluffy, I could do a second pass. Put them back through exactly the same flow that will remove that fluffiness. Give it time to cut. So don't push it through too quick. Allow it to remove that material is paramount with this, okay? Ben's got his hand up. Let's see what he's got as a question.
So a question from Maria here. She's asking if a birch ply, is it true that that it will blunt the cutter a lot quicker than a normal timber?
It will take the edge off the cutter quicker than using normal material. Okay, the glue and the resin's the same with MDF. Anything is what you class as a manufactured board, yes, will blunt in the cutter quicker. Okay, so all those things play a part in. Your cutter's resharpenable, right? So you can actually touch them up with a diamond file, sit down, do it nice and gently, put the edge back on. So it is possible to resharpen things, but yes, Maria, you're right. It will take the edge off. Birch ply is quite dense, quite an even density through it as well. So yeah, it will take the edge off. Why not make this, and this is an interesting comment, it's something I suppose, let's just grab our trivet we've got. Why not make it out of solid wood? What's the problem? If we had the grain direction running vertical, where I'm holding it now, going to be very short grain across these sections. If you drop it or anything, it's likely to break and shatter. It's about an inch square. You've probably got enough material there. It's going to have some strength, but I've kind of thought if we go birch ply or plywood of some type, going to have more structural strength to it. Okay, so that's really the reason I've gone with plywood, just for this, to give it a bit more strength. Right, we've got our 2 boards, so let's just do the. I reckon they're clean enough. I was thinking the other day of doing a second cut on this, but let's just move that feather board out of the way. Just going to unplug the router because I've got to do something else to that in a minute so we can do it. Next little bit. And hopefully you guys can all follow what's going on here. So Ben can probably go to the overhead in a minute and we can have an in view. I'm making my gluing up station now. Okay. Trying to figure out how we can show you. All right. I wasn't going to do the gluing up, but it's quite a good bit to show you. That's our board. We've got our groove. We've got our dowel. We are not gluing the dowel in now. Okay. Just get everything we need. A couple of little buttons. Piece of cardboard on the router table is just going to protect it, so if I get any glue, it's not going to go everywhere. Open the glue bottle. We want some glue. All right, so glue spreader. This is the silicone glue brush kit we do. And I know when we first had this, and I kind of went, yeah, right. Oh, I love it now. Especially for what I'm doing now. Because I can actually get a nice clean layer of glue without pushing it into that groove. And there, one a bit down the back. Now, I don't know if you can see, look at it, look at all this glue here now. I want a thin layer. So now, I can use that silicone head just to scrape off some of that excess. I want a bit in there. And again, I can bridge over where we've done the half round. So I'm not going to get too much glue in there. As I said, we don't want to glue that dowel in. A bit down this edge. So I'm spreading that glue around at the moment. Some of this material is obviously going to be waste. It will get cut off at the shape. Up to there. Cleaning the excess out at this stage. Tip of dowel. Our dowel stick. Gonna go into there. Ben's got his hand up, but give us a second, Ben. Let's just do this while the glue's here. We've got the heater going in the room here. I don't want it going off, you know. I mean, I was thinking earlier it's going to be too cold to be gluing this up, or too hot. Now we've got the heater going. Little buttons in underneath just raise this up enough that help me support the clamp. So I've got my clamps in here. Just checking my back edge is flush. It is good. So nice and straight down on there. So let's just keep going with our clamps a second. One on there. Gonna go 5. It's a bit exuberant having 5 clamps on there, but it'll be good. Let's put that one in a bit more, create a bit more pressure. We can get it glued up. Clamp together. All right, now, I don't know if you can see my hand here. See the back? I'm just going to come down to the far end. There's your bit of dowel, look. Want it out. Okay, so we've taken that dowel out. Put the lid back on the glue pot. Let's put this, I'm just going to lift it up. Ben, I think you can go back to main camera just for a second. All right, so we've got our clamps, we've got it glued. We're going to put it out the way. We're not going to play with that today. Take our bit of card and stuff off there. Right, Ben, you've got a question then. Let's have a look.
So Fuller's got a question about the ply. He's saying in the US, they have 2 different main types, a Baltic birch ply and a Russian birch ply. Is there any, do you know if there's any difference?
Don't know if there's any difference. I've always used basically traditional, which will be Norwegian type of birch ply. The Russian one, don't know. If you can get it, what I would class as traditional birch ply will be better. Okay. You're talking of a veneer section of, oh, wow, 1.5 mil, maybe 2 mil thick. Okay. So it should be quite tight as a plywood if you can get it. It's an interesting one as a comment. You know, it's something I've never thought about. I expect there are other things starting to come in. We've looked at some ply a few weeks back and I kind of went, oh, wow. It's a few too many holes, and demand at the moment is still quite high for this kind of thing. Those guys in the UK will tell you birch ply prices went through the roof. Totally. You know, we might have been paying £40 for a sheet 4 years ago, it's doubled in price. So worth looking at. Other thing, we said what do you need? A piece of plywood about 14 inches by 8 inches. I'm trying to be quick for there. 360 by 180, I think I said. Okay. What about contacting your local joinery shops? This is things they probably throw away. They skip it. So it could be nice to try and, not that big a size. So, okay. Just going to go to here a minute. So no, you do get different grades of plywood. It is worth looking at. We unplugged the router before we did our glue up. I'm just going to change my router cutter. So undo that. Double lock. Fingertips again. Change that cutter. We're going to, I'll show you what it is in a second. A round over cutter with a radius edge. All right. So I'm going to put that into here. Bring them up. I'm going to sight across the table. Got to go the other way. Bring them up a bit higher on my setting. So I've got to bring it up. So this is going to give us our radius that we're going to want in a second. So I'm just using a scrap block on the table just to see where that corner comes up through. I want something flat and square. And again, at this stage, worth having it still unplugged. Just feel that there. That's good. That should be enough. All right. Okay. Quick look to see where Ben is. Make sure he hasn't got his hand up or anything. Right. Okay. Our bit of board glued together. You've seen what we've done. We can get our dowel stick down in here, one end to the other. There you go. Halfway down the board. From end to end, I find the middle. 12 mil into the center. So it's the center of your line where you've got your dowel. I've drilled a hole all the way through both. It is 3 mil diameter. Doesn't have to be 3 mil. It needs to be whatever you're going to use, a location pin in a minute, because I need a metal pin to go into here. So I've used a nail. I can push in and it'll come out the other side. All right, but it needs to fit firmly. So a nail is a good way of doing it. I cut the head off. I've got a nice accurate metal pin. I then made a little handle for it, so it makes it easier to control and push in and out. All right, so we have that first thing. That's our board. We then want, and I think we're going to come back to the bands, over to the router table before we go to there. We need something for the bandsaw. So basically a circle cut jig. If you've never made a circle cut jig, it is so simple. All right. We often get asked, why don't we produce a circle cut jig? You can make it. So what we got on here, let's flip it over. Something to fit in the T-slot of our table on the bandsaw. I've then done a cut. I've also got a backstop. This goes up against the front edge of the table. All right, so when I push it in, there's my saw cut up to the table, and we'll have a look in a minute on the bandsaw. Having got to maximum depth of the stop, I've then drawn a line out along that line. I've then measured and drilled holes using the pillar drill. So 3 inch, 1.5 inches off of here. 4 is 2 inches because you're doubling up your circumference, okay? I've gone all the way up to 16. So you can see all those little dots, all in line with the front of that saw cut. So if we just go to the bandsaw, so 2, we put it on here. You can see we can slide this in. That depth stop comes up to there. The line matches where the front of the blade is. That bit's really important. So actually on this one, I changed the blade just though I started off with 3/8 blade. I've gone down to 1/4. So if I've changed the blade, I moved the backstop, which hits the table, instead of trying to move the blade forward on the tracking, because I want the blade middle of the wheel. How we'd normally set it up. We've been over that quite well with you. So this gives me a way of having a lamp stop. I need to make sure it's up against there. So this morning I adjusted it because I changed to something quite slightly smaller as a blade. Okay, Ben, what have you got as a question, mate?
So I've got a question here from Maria. She's asking, why are router tabletops all made without the fence slots, like pre-fitted? So the ones that she's looked at have the fence slots on a separate bit attached to the table.
Okay.
I'm guessing historically they must have been where the fence slots in would be part of the table and not a separate piece. Is there any reason why?
On this one, we've obviously got, so as in either side,
Yeah.
depends on how it comes together. Depends on how you're making a table. So actually, we even sell that as a separate from memory. We sell the fence as a separate still. You might make your own tabletop, so they will bolt on. This is the machine or table when we did. We had 3 options when we first started. I think there's 2 now. I think there's a metallic surface, there's a cast iron. The same fittings will fit on both. All right, so they will bolt on. You could do a T-slot that comes in from the back, coming in, and make your own fitting. They fit into. All right, so it doesn't have to be. My first table actually had just slots all the way through the table, a bolt in underneath that fitted up into a handle. So there are ways, but it's how you hold that fence on. The nice thing with this is we've obviously got a scale on it, so it makes it accurate. We can put fine adjusters on. So there's different accessories again that will fit into there. So quite an important part. Makes it more adaptable if you like. All right, but really that's why they're either side. Okay, hopefully I think I've answered that one all right for you. Okay. Let us know. Tell Ben if I haven't got it right and come. All right. So on here, then we've got our board comes up. As we said, the front of the blade is level. Now I changed to a 1/4 inch blade because we're getting a smaller middle bit when we do the cut for the last one. Okay. So wanted something that wasn't going to drag as much. I've said to you my board is 14 inches in length. So I can actually go out to the 14-inch hole, push my pin through. So it just comes out the back, that nail head. Can't quite see it on the thing. If I go to the 14, I want to check where it comes to. It comes to the line. All right, the saw cut point. So if I come into here, I can check where we are, make sure I've got the right position. All right, we're going to do maximum diameter first. That's there. Important that the stop on the table is up against that stop properly. All right, so extractor can go on. Guides, just clearing the workpiece. Less than a fingertip gap is all you need. That's going to make it more accurate. So from here, this is a 1/4 by 10 PPI. So actually quite a fine blade, which means I've got to give it time to cut it nicely. Don't go moving too quickly, just allow it to cut. Let me move around. And change place, so I've gone behind, pushing on the corner right out here. This is the easy one. That pivot point, the sensor's holding it nicely. First cut, going to take the back bit off. We got our half round. Going to put that out the way and turn the extractor off on there. Just pulling the pin back now. All right, so want that, and this is why I put the handle on. Want it either right out. I've got to take it right out. You'll see why. So that's the pin. Drops in through. Okay. We now can go back to that router table. Let's finish setting this up. Going to do something a bit weird. We've got bearing guided cutter. I'm going to open the fence out a little bit. We're going to come forward a little bit. With the curve I've got, I can use the fence as a stepping stone to get me onto the cutter, or even bridge between it, if you like. I could come forward just a tiny bit. That's good. Okay, lock off those fascia because I've opened them out a little bit. We don't need the featherboard for this, so let's kick it back off, get it out of the way. Before we do this, I think Ben's got another question, so let's do that one with him.
So we were just going back to Maria's question about the
Yep.
slots for the
fence.
Yeah, and I think now they'll do it as a separate piece, so it could be sold separately for you to make your own table. So then it's got the dual purpose of going as a kit, you know, as sold with the router table. But you could make your own phenolic or
Yep, so you could make your own tabletop.
Yeah.
you can put the side bits, they bolt in underneath the cast iron on this one, so you could bolt them in underneath. You've got your grooves on here on the back of the fence, and we've got to take the fence off after we've done this. So it'll be interesting to show you that. Those grooves actually where the tightening handles are either end are actually slotted. So you've got a bit of discrepancy on what length you make your table. So that would help you on that aspect if you were looking at making your own table. All right.
But they're not machined into the, obviously we can't route the cast iron, but that would be milled in. And yeah, just to keep it for a separate item in case you wanted to make your own, I guess.
And obviously underneath you've got the bolt hole locations that you could use as screws. You'd have to set your height up, Maria, if you're thinking about making your own tabletop. But yes, you could do that. Glue something on. Okay, so we've got our board on there. I've got the bearing cutter. Our aim is to basically take this corner off. So I'm just going to get my earmuffs again. I just want to check our height. I've got to plug the router back in, so I'm going to bend down. MVR switch in there. Tractor on. Check our lofted off. We have. Just want to see if I've got my height right. That looks good. So from here, I can bridge over, make contact with the bearing. No, we want to do radius that corner. Just take that sharp edge up. Small jump there, let's get that. Okay, so we've just literally domed that edge off. Now, my worry with doing this as a video, we're going to dance about the room a bit now. We're back to the bandsaw. I pushed my pin back in. I've gone to the 12-inch hole, or 12, okay? And I'm sorry, guys, this is Imperial, but I work on, this is a nice inch long stay. But you did 14 first, yeah? You've got 1 inch here, 1 inch the other side. So you've got to come in 2 inches on our scale. Check that there. We can do the same on this one now. Gently move about. Guide that in. Bring it around. We get first band. Take our pin out. Bands are off. I'm just going to do one other thing and put a top line, so I know which was top when we do this. I'm just going back to the outer table. I've taken the pin back out again. Put that somewhere safe. Earmuffs back on. So both sides again. Quick look to see what's going on there. Then we're going back over to the bandsaw, pin back in place. Last time we did 12, so now we're down to 10. Back in place again. Push the board right up against the lamp stop again. Circle jig takes the guesswork out of this. Push it on my fingertip, look. Round. Cut out bit goes on the bench. Back to the router table. Keep it moving. So we're going to go back to the bandsaw. Now the reason I changed the blade yesterday, we went down to a quarter. It'll pull a tighter curve. 10 TPI will give me a better finish as well, so finer. So coming back into there, switch on again. Up again, we pushed our board all the way back up to make sure we're in line with the front of the blade. That's 8. Pin's got to come back out. Careful now, getting smaller. So the fence is really helpful to have in place for this. It acts as a little bit of a depth stop, guards the cutter. The last one was 8, so we're going to go to 6. We pulled the board back, get our location on 6, push it down. Checking when I come in, I've got about 1 inch between the edge we've just cut down to the blade. Swing it back out the way. So we pull it round. Next one done. So much easier to cut these as we're doing with the router, more to hold on to at this stage. Getting a bit small now, got enough for this one. So we did 8, this should, we just did 6, so we're down to 4 now. So again, push it all the way up. Down here. Take that out. Just before we go back to bend in a minute, just going to do the last one over here. Okay, and then we're done with the outside edges. We've got a few things to set up. Now, this I'd probably get away with. Probably be able to grip it and run through my fingers, but it's getting a bit small. So what I've done is taken a scrap bit of the plywood, screw a bit of wood on the top, put a wood screw into the position of where we have that drilled hole where the pin's been. Just screw it in. What difference does that make? I can hold this. Crude and simple. Downside, takes you 30 seconds longer. But it's a little bit safer, isn't it? Simple thing, didn't cost you anything. All right, so we can undo it. Take that off again. All right. When we're done with it, take the screws out. You can throw the bits of wood in the fire later to keep you warm. I know. Okay, so that's to there. Right. Okay, Ben's got his hand up. Let's see what he's got a minute.
So a couple of questions here. First one from Maria: is it possible to cut a full circle on that bandsaw jig?
Later.
And then from Fuller, he's asking, what are the specs on the bandsaw blade?
So the bandsaw blade is 1/4 inch, nice and narrow. If I want to cut a tighter curve, now to give you the scope of the one I made the other day, and believe it or not, we're going to find out if an idea works. You've got to do a practice run. All right. 4 is bigger than what I had in the middle there. This is all right, a bit smaller, 3. So it's a bit tighter. When I tried with a 3/8, no, it won't do it. Go down to a 1/4. Yes, I can pull a tighter curve. All right, so I can cut round there. Not a problem. So the smaller blades can be better, less drag. 1/4 inch, as we said, it's 10 TPI. Finer blade, give me a finer cut, but takes a little bit longer. All right, that's nice and sharp. I nagged Ben yesterday about, can we get a new blade so I can pull a tighter curve? So came down, all right? So but nice and sharp will be good. Downside with this, now we cut circles and we're repeating that cut on one side, it will probably start to drift if we could try and cut straight. So tend to have a blade, and I'll label it as circle cut or straight cut. Straighter, I would want to be something wider if we're going to do lots of rip cutting anyway. All right, so probably 1/2 inch, 3/4, depending on what you can get in the machine. If you're rip cutting bigger stuff, deeper stuff, 3 or 4 TPI, more aggressive, it will remove the waste quicker. That's what the shaping behind that tip does. It allows that waste to be taken through the cut, out the bottom into the extractor, hopefully. On our plywood, by going 10 TPI, I've got to move this slower so we don't clog those teeth on the blade, and then it will start to wander and try and cut offline. Okay, so that's quite an important part, why we got that. Now, at this stage, all right, let's just run these back under here. To that. All right, we've got our cutouts. All right, quite nice, isn't it? So, this stage, I said to you, we need to do something here. I'm going to take that off of there. Put that, I think, might, if I reach over, which way did I have it? Down there? Yeah, just. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the fence off of here. So, Maria, we talked about this earlier. So, this is the bars that fit in. This has got a nut that fits into like a T-shop. You know, similar to there, or the bars. Lots of movement here. So, you could actually have slightly smaller tabletop if you were going to use the metal bracket in this. So, it has got that scope if you're not spot on length. Yes, you can move things in. Okay. Aluminium track style, adjustable fences either side. So, 3 knobs on here. I can undo these. I can move everything in and out. Nice extraction port right in behind the blade or the cut. All right, fine adjuster we've got on this end so we can move it and move it in there. I'm having to swing right round. It's like looking over my shoulder. It's not easy today, I promise you. All right, I had a bit of a slide this morning. So, all right, okay, so get an idea on that. Just going to move that and put it out the way. Careful not to hit any leads. Right, Ben's got his hand up again. Let's just do this one then.
So a question from Fuller about the bandsaw blade. Does it drift because of the wear on one side of the teeth?
Can do. If you do the same with a handsaw and you hit a nail or a screw, or you take the edge off one side of that saw, it will start to pull more. Exactly the same with a bandsaw blade. So lots of repetitive cuts on what I'm doing now, cutting exactly the same direction, will make it start to wear and pull a little bit on one side more than the other. All right, so that will affect it. So if I cut lots of circles out, I wouldn't want to go trying to cut straight. My job 20 years ago here was to cut squares and bowl blanks on a Wednesday. All right, we'd have 2 bandsaws, one for straight cutting, one for circles. Then you're not changing the blade, because once you start to cut circle, you tend to take the edge off a little bit more. All right, so quite an important part. All right, so at this stage, we've got our outer table, nothing guarding. I don't like that. Now, we even have a guard that we made up as a kit. Let's run around and grab it just so you can see. I'll put it on the table. This, all right. We can have an extraction nozzle. I had the problem in trying to use this the other day, that it won't clear the back of it. So I was like, okay. Some of you would go, yeah, it's a bearing cutter. It's quite small. I can manage it. You've managed the big ones. When you get into the smaller ones, it becomes more scary. So one job I've got to do with this. Look. So what have I made up? Piece of wood, put a bolt in it. We've got a hole in the table here, which is threaded, or I could have used a G-clamp. I can screw this down. Right, so directly in line with where the bearing is. I've worked out my measurements of where this hole needs to be or where my fixing is. So this is level. So actually now I can get onto there and still do our cut. But I can't get my hand in there. So it guards it, okay? So quite an important part to try and think about making things a little bit safer for you, all right? So just check we're done up. I want to move it over. Get to there. Nice and tight. Okay, goggles back on, earmuffs. We're going to now radius the inside face. All right, so check things will work on there. Good. Extractor I'll put on. I can go on. Keep the cut in line with the front of that tip. This is the easy one. They're quite big. Put it through. Missed a bit on the end. Good. Okay, then my edge, getting a little bit of black on here. What's that? Okay, that's burning. So I've got to run around because it's been a while since I've been in here. It's just going to turn the dial down. So I'm reducing the router speed. Cutters will have a maximum speed they can run at. So what's causing my burning on here? First of all, it's a curve. I'm having to concentrate more on trying to keep it moving fluidly. Got to fight our shape. If I don't keep it moving, the cutter's making contact, it will burn, start to damage the wood fibres. It will stand out, but ideally it'd be nicer not to get too much burning. So if I reduce the router speed, I can also adapt my speed, which I've already done because it's a curved object. I'm running slower through the router because I'm having to think about what I'm doing. So by dropping the router speed, hopefully should get less burning. So back on, back to back on. Again, I can come back out, make contact, try not to sit still. Better. Coming round. Don't know if I'm blocking, just trying to see where I am on the camera for you guys a bit. Just going to give my tap on there, move that round. The second one done. Keep it moving. Okay. So up to, let's have a look, 1, 2, 3, got those. So let's just do something now. As things are getting smaller, I can still get in there. I'll go that. But we could actually make this safer. All right. So how can I make this safer? How about I use what we've already done? We want to cut the internal. More things to hold or more surface to grip can be better. Now I've got these holes. The dowel I've got here, I've just turned it round. Why? I've soaked it in water a little bit. I've swelled the wood fibres up a little bit. So if I push it into here, it'll grip into what we've got. I've now got 2 bits of wood to hold instead of 1. Instead of having to hold that little bit, I can now get here, check my dowel's not coming all the way through. I can get in, check nothing's going to block. I can turn it over. This is giving me more to hold on to if I've got to get my fingers near it, make it a bit safer. So the smaller they become, the more problematic it is to hold. Right? This is doing a job. Can you think about where this is going to go? Right, let's just do bad in a minute because we've stopped and we better ask you.
Yeah, there was just some, a few of them felt that your fingers are very close to the cutter there.
So the whole idea of this, I've really got to struggle to get my hand in here. So actually the cutter doesn't overhang that wooden step too much, but try and keep them away. I've got that black circle as a good guide of where ideally that's the danger point, how near I get. But this is actually acting as, and that's why we've just done that thing. As things get smaller, becoming more risky where you can get your fingers to. Okay. I even thought, man, is there a way we could make up a toggle board to hold these? But actually, that's probably the best thing I can do. Next one I can put in, move the dowels in. So use that dowel hole as a location if we can to grip it. If not, can you make something that fits it and holds it? Okay. Router cutters and fingers coming together aren't good. All right. So think about that scenario. So let's do the next one. We got one more to go after this. It gets smaller again. So we're back on. I can get into here. Bring it right over. I can hold that down now. See the fingertip on the top. I can move round. Body movement's quite important for this as well. Get around there, check what we've done. Just going to flick it over. Do the same again. Move my dowel back. Let's jump forward a bit. Better. Line up the next one. Just enough to secure it. So I'm pushing this dowel in again so we can hold it. So we've added it again. Now this, if I haven't got, think about how near I've got to be to hold it. You've got inch wide material. This is small cutter. Now look at how much I've got to hold. The dowel's supporting. I can even hold those dowel sticks. So Simple little thing. You're there, tractor, and go on. Move my body round. I'll shift my body weight so I can control this nicely. Okay, now the fun bit. Got to pull the dowels out. Like I said, how do I get those to fit nice and tight? Put them in some warm water, swell them up just a little bit. Sorry, Ben. All right, I moved too quick. Right? So I soak them in warm water. It swells them up a little bit so they will grip a bit better. Okay, just to hold it. But that gives me a way of holding these so we can do those edges instead of being here, which that's gets a bit near, doesn't it? Imagine it. How many of you would have done that? Just tell it. Oh, I can get in here. It's only a little bit. Yeah. Even that's better than that with a stick. All right. So something like this didn't take me anything to make. Piece of square, cut out for fit the front of the bearing, drill a hole or a G-clamp on the back of the table. Not that tricky for most of us. All right. So, okay, up to there. Ben, what have you got?
So Maria's asking, would it be safer to do it with a router from above?
Okay, what's the problem with doing it with a router from above? First of all, how are you going to support the router? If you're going to hand hold it, you've now got more stability problems of it falling off of this. They're worse. All right, let's just going to run around to here. Look, we've even got exactly that scenario. So, how are you going to do this? First thing, how are you going to hold this on your bench? And this isn't trying to make you sound, no, this is getting you to think about the problem scenarios of, first of all, you've got to hold this down. Now you've got all of this issue of stability and moving about. You could make up something that fits underneath it ski-wise. Each of these is a slightly different shape, so it becomes more problematic. For me, router tables are godsend for this. It makes it easier to see. You can get, and this is why I said, how are you going to hold the router above? Traditionally, years ago, you used to have overhead routers. You would have a pin follower or a template on the top. That would work your shape. You could see what's going on. Bearing guided cutters are really good, especially in a table. But trying to guard it a bit better can make it a lot safer. But the whole stability problem of once you're trying to freehand and hold this, you're going to struggle. Okay? So let's just move our router back out of the way. So we now have our bits, all right? Next stage for this. All right, Come on then, Ben, let's go.
Sorry, Jay. Question from Tim. He's asking about the blade again. That was a 1/4 inch 10.
Blade?
Yeah, 1/4 inch 10 TPI.
Yep.
But it's not skip tooth, anything like that. It's just a regular.
Just a regular blade.
Yeah.
All right. This, I think, was diamond ground. Okay. All right. So, but basically, regular blade hasn't got a back cut or anything all over it. It's all right. So, regular bandsaw blade. 1/4 inch 10 piece TPI. We know we do the best bandsaw blades. I mean, but all right. So, there is that scenario. All right. But 10 TPI will, especially for the ply, finer cut. If you're going deeper, thicker material, you want to cut bowl blanks, no, go down to a 6. All right. The ply I used it for because it will give me less aggressive cut, cleaner finish on the outside edge. All right. Okay. So at this stage, we can add a hole in the middle here. How do we add a hole in there? Where is it? It's as simple as go to your pillar drill, drill a hole. Most of you can do that. I want to come off of where my hole is here. So I'd be inside, I can drill a hole. Right? Quite easy, isn't it? All the way through. Next thing from there, lots of sanding. And I started using things like crunch ball sander. I can put it in the pillar drill or even on the lathe bed, and I can sand this using my lathe, not in the router table. All right, I can see that being a question, but no, it goes too fast. All right, so, but you could use your pillar drill or your lathe. So I hold this in the lathe chuck. I can even use the tourist if I want, just to soften this up and help clean it all in and sand it. You could go with your orbital sander, but it's difficult to get into here with that. So the scratch ball was really good. All right, this is like a web rack material. All right, so you sand it up. You can hand sand it. Hand sanding's good at the moment because obviously it's an activity and it will keep you warmer. All right, so lots of this little thing with blue paper, back and forwards. All right, it's good. Okay, all right, Ben.
Maria's asking, would you be able to do it on the bobbin sander?
You could do it on a bobbin sander. I don't have that. You've got bobbin sander. I'm on my way. Okay, we'll get the bits together. We're coming to see you. Okay, so you could do it on a bobbin sander, definitely. All right. The scrunchable thing after can be good. It will help get onto that radius edge. All right. So your bobbin sander will definitely help you clean up your bandsaw cut open here. All right. Think about what this is, though. This is something that basically is going to take a bit of abuse from hot pans and pots and whatever else. At this stage, having got your hole in the middle, let's start to thread these through. You can glue this together, all right? So link them in. You can see how my dowel side feeding through, that to there, out the other end. Now, when I glued this, I put a bit of glue on here. I can push it in, but I can also pull the other end back. So actually, if I pushed it out first, I can get a bit of glue either end, get it in, cut them off either end. All right? And yes, it takes a bit of thinking about where you get your glue, because the only piece you want to glue is either end or the middle one. But you can't feed it through all the other ones to get the glue in the middle one. Right, so you've got to do the two ends. Now at this stage, you'll have something, hopefully, with your sanding that you can open out. Do something. That one there, that to there. Okay. I love that shape. Isn't that amazing? It's like sci-fi shape, isn't it? Okay. So, and again, when we said about could we make something that's a little bit different as a trivet, you could put it on your table. But I love the fact you can fold this all up. Okay. Not that tricky to make. Not lots of material. Lots of little safety things to cover. That's important, okay? Extraction. Can you make it safe with the extraction? Right, on here, I've got an extractor that goes in below, so we actually could suck up the air through there. So think about how you can get the extraction to your table. All comes into that aspect of, all right? Now, we had another question earlier, Ben. What was it? About can we cut a circle? Can we do a complete circle? Okay. I think we'll go to the table. On there, all right. My next week's project is I labelled a button box. It's a potpourri little dish. I want a piece of oak or something 5-inch diameter. So on my circle cut jig, got there, I've made a couple of little discs. This is 4-inch. I've got a 6-inch one. I've got a centre pin in the middle. I think, Ben, I'm just going to flip over just to here, just to throw you, all right? So 6-inch one, nail that comes all the way through, so that's 3mm, fits that drill hole we did. I've recessed 4 screws in, so the screw points just come through. Got different sizes, I only need 2 sizes. 6 is quite good, 4 would allow me to do a 5-inch bowl blank. I made the 6-inch one the other day, I had to do a 4-inch one this morning hurriedly because I realised I want a 5-inch one. Okay, so, Ben, let's go to your question.
So a question from Frederick. He's asking, given the nature that's going to have hot pans on it, what kind of a finish would you apply?
Nothing. All right. And I really thought about, we'd do the one I even thought about making a rainbow. Ruby Monaco oil, different colours we could have. But I'm not sure if we're going to put a hot pan on here, what that will do with an oil finish or anything else. I really don't want to be colouring the bottom of my wife's saucepans. Believe me. No, all right? So, personally, leave it unfinished. Leave it natural. Don't even go putting a food safe oil on because I don't know if the heat aspect of a hot pan will affect it. So, natural wood will work fine. We know it's going to take a bit of abuse. You know you're going to, okay? So, that's quite an important part, all right? So, definitely nothing to finish. Good question, Frederick. Thanks. Okay, so we have our disc. We have my block of wood. This is a piece of oak. I want to do a 5-inch circle. I've got the 4-inch disc. The screw points down. I am trying to get an equal amount either there. This end I want to come up because this was the end of the board. So I'm just locating at the moment. That'll do. Now this will mark your timbers slightly, the depth of how much those screw heads come through. And it's a couple of mil, if that. Not a lot more than that. Now I can move this back. I said, what diameter? 5. So I've got to find my number 5. Now, if I'm regularly going to use this for cutting bowl blanks, I would draw a line back to tell me where things are. 5 is there. All right, find my mark. Harder to do with a complete disc than it was to do with what we had a minute ago, wasn't it? Got to come over, making this look hard work now. Where's my line of things? 5 is there. Okay, Jace. 6, 4, 5, that one. Why won't that fit in? There it is. Okay, that will fit in. Going to take it off again in a minute, just to right now. On here, got this problem now though. Do you think the bandsaw cut is pulling down towards the table? If we go out here, what's it going to do? Now you've got another stability problem because the board or what we're cutting is lifted up off the table. The minute you put any weight on the corner cuts, especially if you go bigger, you're going to tip it over. So, another little accessory. What does this do? Okay, we'll lift that off. I'll put that back on the thing in a sec. This will clip in just into here again, just done with a nail, so it will locate. Get my mark lined up again that way. Bottom, there. 5 is that one. Hope we make it look easier this time. There you go. How about that? Going to bring this up. So now this extra support arm is stopping it being dragged down. Again, same rules with cut. There. Right, now we got feed in. Maximumed up. Gently turn it round. Nice and controlled. Go around to the sapwood edge now, so I've got to be a little bit slower here. Cut, we like stop. Turn off the extractor so I haven't got to shout over it. Now the fiddly bit, because I want to get back out of here. There you go. Now we have a hole. We could even glue these back together if you get your cut right. We have a circle. How easy was that? Now, the other joy with doing this, you can do things like natural edge bowls with bark heads. You put this on the bottom, tap it on, depending on how much your screw heads protrude, how much out of level your bit of wood is will play a part as well. Okay, how those are going to hold. But your pressure's coming down onto it. But I can get a nice clean cut all the way around there. Dead clean circle. All right. So, yes, you could use it for cutting things out, but think about the aspect of the minute, especially if I go something bigger. So I might want to do a 14-inch one. I can use that 6-inch disc. Think about how much length you have coming out. Think about that force aspect of things rocking, pulling it down. Stability bar. Easy to do, isn't it? So what I wanted to do with this really was the fact of have something that I can take off and use it for what we've done. But you could also make it into a decent circle cut jig. So once you've made your trivet, you'll have to make 10 or 12 more because, oh, I want one. Okay. Then you get to keep your board, put it next to your bandsaw. You can cut your bowl blanks out of it nice and accurately. All right, so it gives you something a little bit safer. Little things like the stability bar, the round cut things, real positive thing for that. All right, so I promised you at the beginning of this, as much as it's a routing and bandsaw project, it'll do lots of little things and get you thinking about your safety and how you can set different machines up, or what you could make and maybe long term keep them. Ben.
So just a good point here from Fuller. Would you normally would change the blade to a coarser teeth for such thick material?
Depends on the size. Okay, something like 5 or 4 inch diameter. We need to have something that's going to pull around that tighter curve again. All right, so I can go 1/4 inch blade will be good, but you get less structural strength in it. It'll pull a tighter curve, but it's narrower, so it's not as strong. So it won't last as well. Maybe it's a good way of phrasing that. If I can go up to a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch, I can cut 8 inch and upwards. Wow, no problem. So most common blade I probably have on my machine, I've got that bandsaw exactly the same at home, 1/2 inch wide blade. I can cut my circles out, do my bowl blanks. All right.
But less teeth for thicker material.
So if I'm going deeper thickness, coarser teeth. definitely not 10. This is pushing my luck a little bit. It's cut it nicely, but 3 or 4, I prefer 4, or you could go 6. Okay, 3 I find a bit aggressive for this. It'll pull in a bit. 4, okay, I'll give you coarse cut. 6 is more controllable. So my favourite blade probably is a 1/2 inch 6 TPI. All right, that is sad, isn't it? Favourite blade? Stop laughing. Come on, come on.
Okay. Maria's asking the smallest circle that a 1/4 inch blade would cut.
Sorry, Ben.
Like the smallest circle potentially
Ooh.
for a 1/4 inch blade.
There is a scale you can get down to, a guide of how you can do it. Now, if you said to me, and this will be fun, all right, the middle of that is 3 inch diameter. Okay, all right, Ben, let me go to here. Look, this was the one I did as prep. All right, get my head out of the way. All right, get that, Maria? 3 inch. All right. Now, why do I put the relevance of this in? If you use a circle cut jig and it's guiding off a pin in the middle, which that's still got a pin, that little disc, got the nail that comes through that locates in those holes nice and accurately, that will be more accurate than if you gave me a piece of plywood and said, Jace, can you cut me a 3 inch circle out? I'm not going to be able to. So by having something guiding it will make it more accurate. It also means the fact of it's more controllable when you're cutting it. All right, so those little things play a real important part. I can get down to a 3 inch, but if I tried doing it freehand, I bet I'd stop the bandsaw a little bit, or the blade will grind. Right, so if you can control it using something like a circle cut jig, it's going to be more accurate for what you're trying to do. Okay. Normally, I say I don't do lots of small bowls. Don't do much. 5 inch stuff. Oh, come on. I mean, I actually did the prep for next week's project, which I haven't done one yet. Did it yesterday. It was cold at home. And I get out my wood store, and it's like, what have I got? I'm going to make this in. Now, Ben's sat here laughing because he knows he's been in my garage. All right. I do have a little bit of timber. Just a small bit. All right. Some people collect other stuff. I collect wood. All right. It's fine. It's not a. All right? But so I have good wood store. Trying to find something about 5 inch. Most of what I've got is 6 up to 16 inch diameter. So trying to get things about 5 inch was quite hard work. So I've got to cut stuff out. Right. But nice to do. I mean, most of you, if I said to you, can you cut me a 5 inch bowl blank that accurate? What I wish we could do, just go back to the main camera a minute, Ben. I don't know if it'll work. Nah. I was going to roll it across the floor for you. I mean, even if we roll up the outer table, gotta push it. That's pretty good, isn't it? All right, okay. But you get the idea. It's nice and round, okay? I'm sorry, it's Christmas, all right? So I can get away with it, it's Christmas. But gives you the idea of how accurate you can cut that as a circle, all right? And the joy with this, you make it fit your bandsaw. Once you're done with it, you can store it, a couple of hooks on the wall, hang it up. It's all ready to go, waiting for you when you come out next time. So again, makes it more accurate, quicker, and easy to do. Would it take me 20 minutes to make? Lasts a lifetime. Okay? Simple to do. So hopefully you've enjoyed. I will be back Tuesday with that thing. It's over there. All right? All right? And we're going to do what we class as button box. All right, so we've got a wood turning one next week, and then on Thursday, Ben, what have you got?
Thursday we're doing some vases.
We're going to do some vases.
We're going to be using the bandsaw again. Yeah.
A vase.
Yeah.
A vases.
Vases.
Okay, so obviously you did one, it would be a vase. Sorry, my mistake. Sorry. Okay, so thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm sorry for my sense of humour. More woodworking wisdom next week. We will be in the wood turning room.